sense?
It's just hard to separate everything because we're in it and part of it. And
Yeah, I mean, that's what I loved about that Half Nelson clip where he's talking about raging against the machine. You are a part of the machine. It's like raging against yourself. So you don't fight against yourself. What do? If you want to change yourself, do you beat yourself up? What do? No. You change where your energy's going. So like Laura was talking about, this person focusing on the negativity and, it's like you look at that, but then you focus on what you do want. So it's yin and yang. It's a little bit of both. You can't ignore it, and you can't focus on it completely all the time. So, anybody have anything particular we want to work on? Again, whenever somebody comes up here, it's not just one person. It's everybody that gets worked on.
No, I was just thinking about the lupus you were talking about.
Tell me.
Because, she's constantly attacking herself and moving and moving and moving. And
burns, you mean? Okay.
And that's the lupus thing. Because now she has the lupus and that whole loop of self-attack. Of self-attack, self-attack, self-attack.
That's a good one. I like that. Lupus. Fits in. So yeah, and we tapped on this before. It's crazy how things are so mirrored because whatever shows up on the physical body is tied into the system. It can't work outside of the system. Okay, you gotta know a little bit about the system to work with it. And then there's workarounds, but you got to understand a little bit before you can start bending the rules. You got to kind of see what's there. Kind of like Laura mentioned, you got to see the problem, but then I go further. I say you see the problem, but then you don't focus on it. Because if you focus on the problem, it's like magnifying. When you magnify something, it gets bigger and bigger. It's more in your consciousness. And I've gone that route with conspiracy theory and stuff like that. I hear that.
It becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, it gets to where I become negative. And that's my feedback. It's like, this doesn't feel good. If I focus on this for too long and I feel like shit, that's wrong. That's my answer right there. How you feel is your compass. And the compass, ultimately, is compassion, which is neutrality. Compass directs you through life. Compassion, there's interesting that those are very similar words. Compassion is when your heart can open enough to hold other things. Encompass. Compass, direction, compassion, it's all the same thing. And that only happens when you're in a certain space. When you're angry, fearful, that ain't going to fucking happen, okay? And Jesus didn't come from that space. He was very confident, and he spoke with authority. The first part of that word, author. Authority is author. You can't write your history unless you can speak with some authority. If you're like, is it going to happen? It ain't going to happen. And that's where I'm trying to bridge, because I have a little of that, is it going to happen? And that's where I'm like beating myself up. I know I need to change that. Or I think any little bit. You got to push against. It's like working out. I'm pushing against my opposing self. Because we do this a lot. It's not always outside people. We're pushing against ourselves to change, right?
To make the move.
Yeah, so I'm like pushing against this because I know this.
It's gonna move.
Yeah,
I
know this. I feel this, and then part of the system that I was born into, belief systems, perceptions, expectations have happened, and I'm doing this. And the cool thing about that is, even though I may have this huge opposing negativity that this is impossible, it's so strong that it's going to push the other part of me to become strong, and that's when you have the turning point. Which is really the aha and the flipping when we make a really big spiritual evolution, so to speak, individually and collectively.
And that's why it's very important that we are aware and conscious of our language and how we speak to ourselves.
Exactly.
How
language is super important.
Yes. How we speak out to others and how we talk to ourselves also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's easier to catch our words when we go outside, even though it's still difficult.
Yeah, right.
It's the ones inside of us that are the tricky ones. Like, you won't know that you're saying, I'm such a stupid fool. Wow. It's harder to catch those. What were you going to say, Beth?
I was going to say that there's I understand the opposition, the opposing forces, and it really came to light when I watched yours and then the second one, because he actually says the opponent in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a time, to me it's like, once we have that turning point, what do we call it? The turning point or the...
I don't know how I refer. I lost
what
that.
What did we just call it?
Turning point. Yeah.
So then it seems to me that then it should flow.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be
right.
the push.
Yeah, that's you're pushing against each other, and then it gives. One gives. Like one analogy, well, let's say yin and yang is not two-dimensional. It's 3D like this ball. And the reason I found that out is a tennis ball was laying on the ground, and it was laying just so that it looked like the perfect yin and yang. But then when I turned it, I was like, oh, cool. It is a yin and yang, but it's a lot more complex than that. So, like, here is midday, yang, the sun's shining. And then what happens? It spins, it's always spinning, boom, nighttime. There's a little moon, right? So this fluctuation is happening within every day, within a year. Everything is happening like that. So this will continue forever. That's the concept about change never ends. This is always going, right? But sometimes what happens is change stops. Our movement stops once we have something in the way. So it's pushing, struggling. It's like vibration, boom, and then finally it starts flowing again.
Okay, yeah. Because that's what I'm thinking with, like when we talk about being in our center and letting the energy flow in and out in a very easy way.
And it's not flowing properly when we're stuck.
Right.
And
so that's what I equate to, like muscle pain and stuff. There's something cranking. And like you were talking about lupus, or you guys were, because that supposedly so there's pains and aches in places that I think, God, if that could just flow, if that could just, so you just break that free.
Yeah.
So there you go. Is that?
Yeah. But it's the breaking free is in here.
It's in the,
typically. The physical is just the end result. It's the tip of the iceberg, and the mental emotional is the 90% that's below the surface. You're never going to change it completely here. Yeah, you can improve it, and it feels good when you do certain things. But ultimately, a strong dramatic change is going to take quite a bit. I was talking to Bambi earlier, and something clicked in my head, which I've been playing with, but I wasn't aware. Or I hadn't seen it this way particularly. You know how the chakra system, you have the chakra going up, the chakra going down, and then typically what's depicted is a funnel coming out here, a funnel coming out here, boom, 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 like that, right? What if these centers are spinning just like the yin and the yang? And actually, what if there's a yin and a yang aspect to this? So yin, yang, it's spinning, it's fluctuating every way like this. It's not just fixed here, okay? When we have an issue, our energy is not centered and it's all over the place. But what happens all of a sudden if you get in center, and instead of being it like this is front and back, what if it finally does, boom, this? And what if all of your chakras did that instead of them all going forward and back? What would happen? What would you create? You'd create a tube down the center of your being.
Rod.
Or a lightning rod. So if the energy is coming in and there's an issue here, it's going to come in and out. Okay? But if they're all lined up, it just goes, I become like nothing sticks to me. Oops, spilled. It's like it goes through, and it's like Jesus being, or Buddha being transparent. Somebody's issues went through them, they didn't stick. And if things are sticking to you, you don't have the power to change it. You don't have the power to change something when it's stuck to you. It's when you're transparent and it moves through you that change happens. Because there's a thing that happens in the heart chakra, and it's called the harmonizer, because when something negative goes into it, but you got to get to it first. When the heart is completely open in that compassionate space, it transforms the situation and the person. If you can hold a person in compassion, even though they're treating you like shit, you can change that person. But the key is, you've got to have it open to be there. And we're mostly not, for the most part, especially around the people we need to. I hate the way he talks to me, and I don't have a voice to speak up. And get into the heart, okay? And you can't then change this, because you're not in the power anymore. Jesus was all about the heart. Hanuman was about the heart. You've got to be there. That's where the transformation happens. And we're all doing this. Our energy's like,
good point.
We're shooting holes in reality. Boom. I line up with myself. God's coming through. I'm connected to Earth. I have a huge amount of power and fluctuation within reality. I can then change it. It's like the Neo, which Neo, if you look at all those movies, Neo represented Christ. In the end, he was sacrificed for the overall well-being of everybody. The Trinity, all that was hidden within that movie. But all of us have that ability with our Matrix movies.
Matrix.
Mm-hmm. You have to watch all four of them to get it. Even in the last one, they show you like the supreme being, the one that created everything in that last movie. It's pretty interesting. And the anomaly in the Matrix is choice. Our choice is what creates reality. Because it would be boring as hell if everything was preset, right? We have free choice. We, as a collective, we the people, get to direct what's going to happen in our future. But we have to take charge of that and not let other people take our energy and take it where maybe somebody else wants to take it. There's no free will in that. Free will is, this is where I'm going, and I'm going to take as many people as I can, and we're going to go this way. We're not going to hate those other people, because that doesn't work either. If you hate them, you're tied into them. You're struggling to do something. You're saying it's more powerful. It's like, no, I'm powerful, and I'm going to say this happens, period. And it is going to happen. Maybe it may take weeks or months or maybe years, but I'm going to keep focused there and not let other things deviate my focus. Otherwise, whatever deviates your focus, it takes that energy out of that chakra, right? You've got to keep coming back to yourself. That's self-mastery. We all want to change the world out here. You can't fucking do that. If you can't control yourself, how the hell do you think you're going to control anything else, right? You got to, self-mastery is period that. That's what it is. That's what Jesus had. Self-mastery. And you can't say, hey dude, get up and walk if you haven't mastered yourself right. Yeah? Anyway. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. So, whoever, jump for it.
Circle today. Pam said you should look at me.
Okay.
I didn't know what you meant.
I'm looking at you.
Should I take the shoes off?
No, you're good. It's good.
It's all good.
Yeah. So tell me what's present. Now we're going to play the game together, okay? Remember, this body is a result of the I'm going to use the language I'm playing with now. In language doesn't necessarily matter that much. Okay. But let's use this language today. Let's say that her physical body is a result of the programs she's got within her mind and consciousness, and there's a couple of sources of those programs. Tell me some.
Family.
Religion. Family, ancestry.
Religion.
And to me, DNA, it's not just physical attributes, it's mental emotional patterns that are passed too. So what her body is reflecting is not only her issues, but her ancestry's issues, okay? And from my point of view, epigenetics, like I said, somebody that didn't have a high cholesterol issue and all of a sudden they have a high cholesterol issue, I'm looking at why did they start eating that to get that issue, which is going to come from the mental emotional before the physical shows up. So to me, it's always going to go back to a consciousness, and the DNA is actually is sending forward a pattern of mental emotional patterns. So you don't just get cholesterol issue, you get the mental emotional pattern too. You also get acquired things. Lucky you. We have shit we come in with, right? And then we have every opportunity, even today, to pick up new crap, new patterns, new programs. Oh, it's never going to rain here. That negative, and then you get caught up in that. So let's look at so we're going to look at the issue. Okay, bring myself back to my center. I'm just doing it. Chill it out. Come back to my center. Okay, we're out there. So let's look at her physical representation, and then we're going to look at possible programs, computer programs that she's been writing or she was given that's causing the problem. Does that make sense? The physical body is the reflection of what she's writing mentally and emotionally, period. Okay? Let's play with it that way. So, and somebody kind of keep notes for me. So what's presenting itself? What do you want to look at? Anything?
Very slight headache. Number one. It's not hardly there at all. But
okay, headache. I want to go through stuff that you're dealing with most of the time. What are your issues? Physical issues.
The left leg is a lot better, but I still get tinges from time to time, and now the right knee tinges once in a while.
So you're getting tightness in both left and right knee?
Not tightness, but just like a tinge of pain as I walk down the steps.
Almost like a nervous or muscle. Okay. Would you say it's more nerve or muscle tendon related?
I don't know. It's just a little quick pain.
Okay. And you said anytime it'll hit you?
Mostly going downstairs.
Mostly going downstairs. Okay. That could be key.
Is that upstairs?
No.
No. So downstairs, you're going to utilize different muscles. Like whenever you do like hiking or anything, for me, going downhill is almost always worse than going uphill, because you're putting. The crazy thing about our anatomy is you're putting most of your pressure on a knee that's out there slightly bent. You're putting all that pressure on the joint. When you're going up, it's a little bit different. You're leaning into it. There's a lot more things happening. So we've got knee. What else? Just kind of give me the gamut of here, just dump everything. What's going on with you? What is your normal thing? Because we're going to look at this as all writing. We're looking at what's showing up. Is basically, let's just say in a weird way, let's say your spirit's up in space and it's writing a program, and that program is going to cause the physical issue. So we want to look at the physical issues and then follow that backwards to figure out what was written or is being written right now.
Something that's happened occasionally recently is with my hands, that I'll be turning over in the night and my hand's up here not touching anything, and suddenly it will have pain. And I'll go, and I'll work on it some myself.
Just the hand, not the arm?
No,
Okay.
usually it starts around the thumbs and maybe radiates out into the hand.
Okay.
And I
Left hand, right hand, both hands.
Mostly the right hand, but then recently the left hand did it too.
Okay. What else?
Um,
Let me ask you this. Do you have any medical labels that you've been labeled with?
I haven't seen a doctor in years.
Okay. And, if you want to receive some programming, see a doctor.
Right.
You have this. Okay. Okay. Not that you should avoid doctors. It's appropriate for all kinds of different things. What else? Is that it? Any normal pain beside the knees? Hands? Do you have anything? Because sometimes when people come up here, they forget. Is there anything that you're aware of that's like a repeated issue with her?
Very rarely low back. And
Low
usually
back,
he gives me a good hug and I think it's better.
Oh, good.
Left leg's a little hard to get into the car.
Okay.
Yeah. I've gotten in the habit that when I get in the car, I always reach down and lift the leg up. And I think I don't need to do that anymore, but it's so much a habit, I always do.
Because it was to prevent pain. There's not a bad thing about that. But that's it. Low back, knees, hands. Okay. Not everybody brought their sheets, but who has the muscle sheet? Will you check that, Deborah? It seems like that hasn't. Is it still got a red dot on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't it beep if it does not?
Okay, it should. Sometimes it's, you don't catch it though. What is the muscle in the hand right here? What is it related to?
Spleen.
Spleen, okay. What else does spleen relate to?
Self-confidence.
Spleen, self-confidence. On a physiological level, spleen has to do with lymphatic flow. Spleen is one of the major organs related to that. So it has to do with lymph, it has to do with cleaning the system up. It's the second prong of the immune system. And so the immune system is basically the military of your body. Whatever crosses your border, which is not good to your body, your immune system, your military kills it. But then you leave all these dead bodies floating around that your lymphatic system has to go in and clean up. So sometimes, like autoimmune, is what happens is your defense system is crazy. They're like, guerrilla warfare, and they're killing these things that they don't need to be, and you have a lot of dead bodies floating around, right? And what happens typically with...
Some are still alive then.
Yeah, there's a few alive, because they multiply fast.
But they look dead.
Yeah. So what happens is the lymphatic system, usually with people with autoimmune, is sluggish because it's not cleaning up things fast enough, and you get a huge issue. Teresa does a lot with lymphatic system and flushing out with people. She can tell you all kinds of things about how important it is around the physical well-being of a body. Especially, like say somebody has breast tissue that was removed and they take out the lymphatic, those arms, whew, they get big and painful. And to me that all relates to stuff. So we're looking at knees and hands. Knees are typically flexibility. What's another concept of the knee on mental emotional level? What do the knees represent? We go over it all the time.
Bending.
Willpower, right? So when we hear about, we're supposed to bend our knees to pray, we're saying I'm bending my will to a higher power, right? So knees relate to willpower. They also relate to relationships and finding balance in relationships. And the relationship is also yourself too. I mean, there's things that I think I should be doing and I'm not always doing, and vice versa. So we have a huge relationship with ourselves. And it's like, even if you went into the wilderness to live by yourself, you're still going to be having a relationship with something. That's going to be yourself. Then we have the hand issue. Okay. Overall, how does anybody get any other read off of Laura just in general by looking at her? Any feel? Because remember, our visual is how we pick up programs too. And in this group, we're expanding our ability to see different levels of the matrix, if you will, that most people can't even read, right? You can if you practice. We're just basically being able to read the matrix a little bit better. So is there anything that you, just looking at Laura, feeling Laura, is there anything that stands out that she hasn't mentioned?
Sluggish system.
Yes.
I was going to say
She seems
digestion.
tired.
Just
To me,
the whole system is sluggish.
Yeah, and that's what I get with Laura mostly overall, is it's like there's a slow, things are not getting out like they need to, okay? Which goes back to what? Spleen, right? So there's that spleen thing. Spleen. Anything else?
I was going to say sluggish digestion, but I guess that's pet.
Well, you know what? Here's a cool thing about that, Beth. And I don't know if I've covered this before. Spleen and stomach are the same element. And spleen actually is the organ that pulls the chi out of your food. All the stomach does, I said all. You know, the thing the stomach does is it basically chews all that up and makes it into a mush that you then absorb most of your nutrition in your small intestine. Your stomach isn't the absorber, it's the trash compactor that's tearing it all into small little bits of information. So it's basically taking this big long computer called a computer program called chicken leg, and you eat it and you chew all the bytes up and you make it into these computer bytes that you can then more easily digest. So, but the spleen and pancreas are tied in via a duct into the small intestine. So yeah, digestion can be a huge issue there. And the thing about this is like leaky gut can be an issue because then you have things that aren't being digested being leaked out of the gut because nothing is solid in the body. If you ever look at the skin, you know, this is why, you see they put people with like smoking patches on their skin. You go, how the hell does that work? It works because if you look at the skin, it looks like a bunch of haphazard shingles just thrown down. So things get through there. Like if you take a shower too long, you absorb all that water. And the thing about people that sluggish spleen, they absorb water like a sponge because they're not squeezing enough of it out. So it's like she needs to be wrung clean and get a bunch of this toxic crap out. So that's what I'm reading too, is it's a sluggish system, things aren't being kicked out like they need to. And that might just be the reflection of her not being able to move free enough like she needs to and in a comfortable way. Okay? That could be just that reflex. Does that make sense? Is that it?
I'm relating.
Yeah. So,
I resemble that remark.
So what might be some mental emotional things? So that's that. What might be writing that program? Just give me like a mental idea that would like encompass sluggish cleansing system, not moving freely. Those two. What would just give me a line that would make that happen in your head? Just imagine.
I don't have energy to move.
That's one. I don't have the energy to do this. I don't have the strength to do this.
What was that sluggish system, and what was the other one?
Not moving freely.
Yeah, not moving, thank you. Which goes together. You know, if you ever take a sponge that's all full of water and you know, or like on a rare occasion, if I eat way too much salt, my hands will get puffy, right? And you know how you can't, I wouldn't be able to bring my fingers all the way to there, right? Because they're swollen up. So when you're swollen, you are limited in your movement, right? And if you can't do that, there's some kind of swelling in your system or other arthritic issue. So to me, there's stuff that is not moving out of the system, okay? But that's a good one. It's like, I don't have the strength to do it. That's one right there. Because the spleen has to be, it's kind of like, it does stuff kind of in the background. And it can, because the spleen is like, a lot of us empaths have the spleen issue because we're so focused on tending to other people that we don't have time to clean up our own shit, right? Here, let me tend to you, let me tend to you, let me tend to you. I don't have any energy or time to take care of myself. Well, that reflection would be your body. You're not having enough time to get the stuff out and take self-care. Does that make sense? That's one of like a myriad of programs. What else? Okay, here's the way to do that. Just turn what I've said about the body into a statement. What have I said about the knees maybe?
Bending the will.
Mm-hmm. One example, like I'm not free to do what I need to do. I can't move and do what I want to do. I mean, sometimes it's very simple. You know, you may think like it's got to be this big issue. Sometimes it can be just a real simple thing. So, anybody else got anything on that?